Undefeated Irish sensation Ian Garry has quickly become a force to be reckoned with in the UFC thanks to his charismatic personality and elite fighting skills that make him believe that he can reach the same heights as Conor McGregor.
That looks good!
After all, he's not here to take part. He too is here to take over.
We're not here just to take part, we're here to take over!
Is Machado the future of MMA? Born in 1997 in Portmarnock, Ireland, Ian Machado Garry started his martial arts journey with boxing at 10 years old. And like any kid in the Emerald Isle who had a passion for fighting, Garry too was inspired by the legend of Conor McGregor, whose rise in Cage Warriors and the UFC inspired the young Irish lad. Garry was ahead of the curve since the start of his career, and he excelled in boxing as well as judo, earning a black belt at only 18 years old in 2015. The same year, he dropped out of university to focus on martial arts. A flying start to his career. After a successful amateur career, Garry turned pro in 2019 and made a successful debut against James Sheehan at Cage Warriors 101, winning by a decision. In his second fight, the Irish star showcased his finishing skills in his second fight against Matteo Seglia at Cage Warriors Unplugged 2 in September 2019.
His Cage Warriors debut was...
Big shot for me!
The first round of the fight was back and forth, with Garry having the edge due to his striking repertoire, especially his leg kicks that were chopping down Seglia like a tree. In the second round, the Irishman started off with some jabs before firing off a few leg kicks that sent Seglia to the mat on a couple of occasions. Near the 1 minute mark, Garry rocked Seglia with a high kick. Seglia backtracked while on rubbery legs, and Garry followed with a thunderous flying knee that sent his opponent packing. Rocked and rolled. In his next Cage Warriors outing in November 2019, Garry was moments away from getting put away.
Starts tomorrow for that. Oh, he's caught though! Garry's caught early!
But he survived to turn the tables on his opponent, Mateusz Figlak. The fight was very even in the first couple of minutes, with both fighters having their moments. But halfway through the first round, Figlak badly rocked Garry with a clean right hand. Unfortunately, Figlak failed to finish the fight as Garry backtracked and managed to clear the cobwebs by initiating a front body lock. Seconds later, Garry transitioned to a rear body lock, dragging his opponent to the mat and immediately taking his back and wrapping his arms around Figlak's neck to cut off the blood supply. Figlak chose to nap instead of tap. Road to Cage Warriors title shot. After sleeping Figlak, Garry secured 3 finishes en route to a Cage Warriors welterweight title shot. In his fourth professional fight, the Irishman victimized George McManus in September 2020. The difference in class between the two fighters was evident from start to finish, and Garry pummeled his opponent for 8 minutes before putting him out of his misery. Early in the 4th minute of round 2, Garry badly rocked McManus with a jab and then proceeded to land every strike that he had in his arsenal to earn a TKO win and improve to 4-0 as a professional. In his 5th professional fight, Garry took out Jordan Tracy. The Irishman spent nearly 4 minutes outstriking his opponent before pushing him against the cage and letting his combinations flow like magic. Moments later, Garry secured a takedown and rained elbows and punches that marked the end of the contest. In his final non-title fight in Cage Warriors, Garry picked apart Rostam Akman with leg kicks. The fight lasted a round and a half, and Garry absolutely embarrassed Akman by knocking him down multiple times with low kicks and putting him on his butt with trips. The finish came halfway through the second round when Garry pressed Akman against the cage and launched a crisp right hand, followed by a high kick that sent Akman packing.
Here, Chris Fields in the corner. It seems it's a huge kick!
Cage Warriors glory. In his final Cage Warriors fight in June 2021, Garry locked horns with Jack Grant for the vacant welterweight title. There was a lot of mutual respect between the two fighters, yet the competitiveness of both shined bright in their battle in London. Garry was the better fighter by a good margin. He landed the bigger strikes with greater output and had the edge in wrestling as well. Yet he was left gasping for air by the end of the fight because Grant was in his face throughout, taking one shot after another, but still moving forward like a zombie, challenging Garry to hit harder. Grant's biggest moment in the fight came in the championship rounds when he face-planted Garry with a big knee that opened a cut under his left eye. But other than that, the Irishman was in complete control and won all 5 rounds and all 3 judges' scorecards with a 10-8. The UFC had been scouting Garry for a long time because the Irishman was a complete package. He had the skills to finish people and the resilience to pull himself out of tough positions. But most importantly, he had incredible mic skills.
I'm 23 years of age. We're gonna be a world champion.
And he showed every layer of his fighting personality in his first UFC fight. Here to take over. Taking his first bow in the UFC 268 prelims, Garry faced the game Jordan Williams, who put the Irishman under the cosh early. The fight started with inside left kicks before both fighters started to let their hands go. Williams had a lot of success early as he found his range and landed stinging straight hands, pushing Garry on the back foot. The Irishman circled and feinted to keep his opponent away before landing a strike or two. Halfway through the first, Garry had noticeable redness around his nose as a result of Williams' straight shots. The fight was close, but Williams was slightly ahead on output, but it didn't even matter. Seconds before the end of the first round, Garry slid out of range and landed a big right hand on Williams' chin, forcing a wobble and then a stumble before the American eventually hit the canvas. The fight was stopped there and then. And after a debut like that, Garry needed a special post-fight interview, and he delivered one by taking a page out of Conor McGregor's book.
We're not here to take part. We're here to take over, and this is the takeover part 2.
Second stoppage win in the UFC. After an impressive debut against Jordan Williams, Garry scored a couple of comfortable decision victories against Darian Weeks and Gabriel Green before facing Keenan at UFC 285, where the Irishman survived a major scare. Keenan was making his way to the cage after a lengthy 2-year layoff, so he showed signs of ring rust early by not throwing any strikes. Garry took advantage of it and established cruise control as he forced the action and slowly started overwhelming Keenan with jabs and low kicks until the final minute of round 1, when the Chinese badly rattled Garry with a counter left hook. Garry lost consciousness for a split second, and when he cleared the cobwebs, Keenan was on his back. The Chinese star couldn't make the most of his opportunity, however, allowing Garry to survive the round. Round 2 was pretty much like round 1 without the knockdown. The only difference was that Garry began to use front kicks more often as opposed to round 1 where he threw jabs and low kicks. As the round progressed, Garry started picking the Chinese apart with crisp combinations, and Keenan had no answer to the onslaught. The third round saw more action, and halfway through, Keenan's left eye was swollen shut and his nose was busted open. With 1 minute left on the clock, Garry went for broke. A flying knee pushed Keenan to the fence and Garry followed, ripping to the body and head with big hooks. A few seconds later, Keenan fell to the canvas and Garry finished the job with a few more punches to jump a few places up in the welterweight ranking. Melting D-Rod. A couple of months after defeating Keenan and improving to 11-0 as a professional, Garry faced the toughest test of his career in Daniel Rodriguez at a UFC Fight Night in May 2023. Rodriguez, who is known for his thunderous knockout power, was respected by his opponent, who patiently picked his shots instead of trading in the pocket with the American. Garry touched Rodriguez and evaded before D-Rod could counter. When Garry found the strike he wanted, the fight was over. Halfway through the first round, the Irish star connected with a big kick to the head that sent Rodriguez crashing to the canvas. Garry followed and rained big punches on his defenseless opponent until referee Dan Murgliata stepped in and saved Rodriguez from more damage. The future? Well, the win marked the 5th victory of Garry's impressive run that the Irishman hopes to continue until he reaches the top. Garry's moniker says it all. He is the future, and rightly so, because he is inevitable, whether one likes it or not. He has it all, the personality, the skills, and now the experience to make his dream of becoming a UFC champion come true. Will Ian Garry follow in the footsteps of Conor McGregor and make Ireland proud?